So I thought that this was an interesting story worth sharing. In the press conference that Tony had for Full Gear, he was asked about the FTR, the Ring of Honor and IWGP Tag Team Champions, and getting him on the card. What he said was, to a degree, they'll get there. We'll get there. But he also mentioned that he's trying to get FTR and the Briscoes to be featured on AEW television, but due to Jay's previous remarks a few years ago, his unsavory comments a few years ago, that is the reason why Warner Brothers Discovery is hesitant to having Jay and Mark be featured on AEW programming, because they don't want those two to be featured on the program and have Jay's previous comments come out and have it look bad for the company. That at least is what I'm interpreting from the decision-making process. So unfortunately, AEW does have two options. In my opinion, I don't think they would need Warner Brothers Discovery's permission to have them being the Briscoes, appear on pay-per-view. And maybe they can get a technicality where you have them appear on a YouTube channel. And you set it up for pay-per-view where technically it is not on Warner Brothers Discovery's properties. I know that they like having it on Bleacher Report. I don't know if every pay-per-view is on the Bleacher Report's BR Live, but I know a number of them have been. And I know they enjoy having it. But the fact of the matter is, if there's a problem, Tony could work with Warner Brothers Discovery and maybe even have Warner Brothers Discovery sit down with the Briscoes. I mean, I know Mark and Jay would not apologize for their previous comments, but I can understand. Basically what I'm saying is I understand the situation. If you want to know the comments that Jay made, please feel free to look them up on your own. I will not disclose. I know the comments he made, and that's not what we're here for. We're here for me to tell you the interesting story having to do with why the Briscoes, and maybe one of the reasons why FTR is not featured on the pay-per-view against in action like they should be. Because it is entirely possible that maybe Tony had intention of having the Briscoes against FTR. Or the other thing is Tony would have to just suck it up and deal with it and have it be where FTR and the Briscoes stick to Ring of Honor shows and not AEW. Even though Tony sees the money to be made from FTR and the Briscoes being featured on AEW programming, he may just have to, deal with it, sit there and say, oh, well, and just move on from it. Because he may not be able to put it any other way. You may not be able to do it any other way. But, I think that much like I think I detailed this in an article on the website about how I would break apart Ring of Honor and AEW. And the main way I would do that is having AEW having somebody from AEW stand up and say, look, we are we are we're tired of having to share time. We're tired of having to share our space. We have enough people here. We don't need Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor needs us. Tony Khan's someone who kept the company alive. We don't need them. They need us. So I will do my part to run AEW out and get rid of, Ring of Honor out and get rid of the pollutants of Ring of Honor from AEW one by one. And that could spring up this, that could spring up that. I think the way I told the story was I would bring in Desmond Wolfe or Nigel McGuinness and have Nigel play a part in AEW in some cases, or at least the reinvention of Ring of Honor, because Nigel was a massive part or a major part of Ring of Honor back in the day. And that's where he found his most success back in the day. So that's where, you let him come back and do what he does in Ring of Honor. But my other point is FTR. FTR are technically considered AEW contracted employees. If I was if I was FTR, when the time comes to choose, I would say I'm picking AEW. I'm picking Ring of Honor because Ring of Honor treated us better than AEW did. And you have them jump ship to Ring of Honor officially and have them be the flag bearers alongside Chris Jericho as the people holding the banner or the flag bearers for the new invention of Ring of Honor or the new advent of Ring of Honor to allow for name value and name recognition to be a part of the Ring of Honor brand as they try and establish themselves. You know what I mean? As Ring of Honor tries to establish themselves, they need people like FTR. They need people like Chris Jericho. They need people like Bryan Danielson to help establish themselves as a brand. And the only way to do that is by having them turn to Ring of Honor out of loyalty and out of, I would say, Ring of Honor gave them a chance that AEW never did. So just out of the possibility of having opportunity, because also AEW's tag team division doesn't really need FTR. Yes, AEW's tag team division would benefit it, especially if the Bucks and Kenny are going to be in the trios division. Then they would benefit from it, but at the same time, there's only so much space for so many people, and AEW needs to figure out a direction, focus on some stability, focus on this, focus on that. But even then, there are ways to bypass it. There are ways to figure things out, and there are ways to work in a compromise. I know, or I think, I would say, that I would be surprised if Jay willingly apologized for his actions. But you can ask him if he would, if it meant making money. In the cause of making money, under the guise of making money, would you apologize for what happened? What you said, 9 years ago on social media. You could ask him that. You can have the Briscoes sit down alongside Tony with WBD executives to see what happens there, because it is an interesting story, because we know the background as to why why the Briscoes will not and have not been featured on AEW programming, even though it is a missed opportunity, not having the legends that are the Briscoes in the territory, in AEW, while we wait for Ring of Honor to get reinvented and reestablished, having their own television spot, which shouldn't be that long, because according to the news video I posted earlier today, or yesterday, according to the news video I posted yesterday, we may be seeing Ring of Honor we may be seeing an update either before the end of this year or early next year on Ring of Honor's television deal. As we heard about that, it will come after Final Battle on December the 14th. So it gives us another reason to look forward to Final Battle this year on December the 14th. But separation is a good thing, and it also gives people a reason to watch Ring of Honor if they know they could see matches like the Briscoes versus FTR. Because I guarantee you, Tony wants to book that match again. But it's clear he wants to book it where the return might be a little bit sweeter. So maybe, just maybe, Tony can work his magic and figure something out. Or maybe they'll just do a live YouTube event. There are ways to bypass it. There's a lot of ways to do it in 2022. But I think sitting down with WBD and speaking with the executives there to see if there's any way they would allow Jay and Mark to show up on AEW programming, that's the best way to go. But if you ever wanted to know why the Briscoes have not appeared in AEW, just take a look, because there are reasons why they haven't, and to me it makes sense. But I think there's a way. I think it could work for everybody sitting down and talking about it to try and work something out if they really wanted to. But it was an interesting press conference from Tony Khan ahead of Full Gear, and very informational from Tony, and very a breath of fresh air. Another reason why I love AEW. So those have been my thoughts on the last bit of the press conference. I will see you guys again very soon. Let me know your thoughts on the idea of having the Briscoes versus FTR in AEW, or if you would prefer just keeping the Briscoes and FTR in Ring of Honor. And if once Ring of Honor is established with a TV deal, should FTR go to Ring of Honor or stay with AEW? Do you think Ring of Honor needs people like FTR to help reestablish the brand, especially if it's going to be on national television for the very first time? Let me know all that and more down below. But if you want to interact with the video, you could also leave a like and subscribe to the channel to let me know you like this content, and I'll post more like it, because any and all interactions with the video do help. So with that being said, before you go, do not forget to ding that notification bell to always know when a new video is up on the channel, because that is the only way you'll get the notification, dinging that bell next to the subscription box. And until next time, I will see you again soon.